What if building APIs felt as easy as making a wish? Have you ever imagined simply explaining your business requirements in your natural language and instantly seeing and testing your API ideas as you go? Evolve and refine them on the fly, automatically generate contract valid production ready code, and get instant feedback, all without writing even a single line of code. You don't have to imagine it any longer because Genie has granted that wish. Let me show you how Specmatic Genie can make API development feel like magic, turning your ideas into reality at the speed of thought. Let's jump in. So I'm going to go ahead and author a new API. And here is my business requirement. Let's look at what is that I want to do. I want to be able to basically manage and execute e-commerce orders, related task, create an order, specify the product details, retrieve the order by ID. And when I create an order, there are specific product details, region details that I want to specify. So with that, let me go ahead and ask Genie to help me generate a API for us so that we can start playing around with it and seeing if the idea that we have in mind can be expressed through a API itself. So as we speak, what Genie is doing is breaking down this requirement, building a specification for it, and then getting the LLM to generate that specification for us. And once it's got the LLM, it's also going to create an environment where we can start playing around or prototyping, if you will, this API itself. And so here it has gone ahead and generated a specification for us, which describes or captures the requirements that we have given as in the form of an OpenAPI specification. What you would also see here on the left, on the top, it has given me a summary of what are the things that we can do with this API itself. So the first thing I would like to do is essentially list the details of an order. So let's take this order and say fetch details of order this. And as soon as we give that, what it's trying to do is it's going to make an API call and retrieve this information. Of course, this information was provided in the example. That is where it's got this information. So while we gave this, as you can see, it essentially did a get on slash orders and the order ID that we gave, and it retrieved the order details. So that's pretty cool. So what we can also do is now we can also go ahead and create a new order. So let's say create new order, and we want to basically give let's say product 4 and 5. This is for India, and let's say it's not a corporate order. So when I go ahead and hit that, what it's going to do is it's going to create a post on slash orders, and it provided the information that we gave, the product 1004, 1005, and the other details, and it's gone ahead and created a new order itself. So I could also tell it show me the details of the newly created order, and it should be able to fetch the order for us. So that's great. What I want to do is I want to maybe list all orders that we have. And let's see. So what it's saying is currently I don't have the functionality to do this because if you remember in our original requirements, we actually never gave the requirement to list all the orders. That's fine. What we can do is add the ability to list all orders. So now what we're basically doing is we're asking Genie to essentially update our API design itself to have the ability to list all orders. And there we go. It has done that. And here you will see that this section highlighted in green is where it's added the ability to list all orders. So with that, we should now be able to say list all orders. And there we see it is able to list all the orders that it has in the system. So this is a quick way in which you can prototype your idea. You can take your business requirements, play around with it. You might realize that you need some other capabilities as well. So you go through this iterative process and you are able to finally have a specification that you're happy with. So once you have this in place and you've played with it, you would see that this is the specification that we just created. Now, what I want to do is I'm happy with this specification. I actually want to go ahead and generate the code for this. So let me go ahead and generate the code. And here I'm using a Node application just for simplicity, but you could use any other framework. And what it's going to do is it's going to feed the specification to an LLM and try and generate the code for us. And here you will see that it's created the code inside this app folder. And now Specmatic agent is starting the application of the code that was just generated to make sure that it's actually working code. And once it's able to generate, it's going to run contract tests against that. And so what we see is, it was able to generate 28 contract tests. Let me quickly scroll to that section. So it was able to generate 28 contract tests. 25 of those tests were passing and 3 were failing. And so then what it's going to do is it's going to summarize the errors, to the LLM and then try and get it to regenerate the code for us. And sure, this has gone ahead and done that again. There may be some issues in the code that the LLM provided. It has issues, so it's going to feed this feedback back into the LLM, and hopefully it is going to try with a few attempts try and get a working code for us back so that we will be able to start the application and test the application to be compliant with the specification that we have just given. And there we see it's now able to successfully run all the tests. And as you saw, it was able to get all these tests passing. So all 28 tests have now passed. It took a couple of iterations for sure, but finally it was able to generate all the code that was compliant with the specification. So this in a nutshell is how Genie can help you take your ideas and play with them, validate those ideas, make sure that you're happy with the API specification, and then use that to generate the API code. So thank you again for watching this video.